Welcome back to another episode of You Unlimited. I am so excited, you guys, to dig in today with Kristin Ericksen. She is such an incredible woman in so many different ways, and I cannot wait to share her with you in this space. She is pure magic, and you guys are about to unleash your money mindset in a million different ways. So I'm just so excited to dig in a little bit about Kristin, just so you can get to know her as well. So she has spent 25 years being this celebrity personal trainer in LA and New York City, and then did this beautiful pivot into finance, became this fully licensed financial planner and advisor. And what's beautiful is she's taken all of this background in building a business and finance and allowed her to become this really powerful peak performance business coach in so many different ways. I mean, she has a real estate background. She's a keynote speaker. She's the co-founder of Cheap Homes University. And she's got this incredible new program that I can't wait to dig into with you guys, Break Free, Make It Happen, because she is best known for helping her students take their annual income and make it their monthly income. So Kristin, thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to dig in with you.
Thank you, Christina, so much for having me. It was pure alignment the minute you and I met, and I am just so grateful to share whatever wisdom and nuggets I have for your audience to help them just like it helped me. And it's the time. It's definitely the time.
Oh, absolutely. And it's such divine timing for anyone that's tuning in and looking for these nuggets of wisdom. And so I know I'm just going to ask the question that I know everyone is thinking right now, which is, okay, how do we shift our annual income to our monthly income? Like, what does that process start to look like for your clients so that people can start to better understand? Because I know they're thinking, well, that would be nice. Where does someone start with that? What does that process even look like?
Christina, it's a question I get often, and it's literally a very simple shift. For many, 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 many years, I was trained to train dollars for hours.
Mm-hmm.
And like most people out there, we work really, really, really hard. And then we're told, you got to just work harder if you want to make more money. And upon entering the financial field, I realized that that is a big lie.
Yeah.
It's about working smarter and really understanding how money works, how leverage works, how, teaching and training and working one-to-many versus one-on-one, depending on. So it's a very, very simple shift to get people out of old programming and get them into the new programming. Because once you open up somebody's mind, as you well know, the mind only works like a parachute when it's open.
Yeah.
So when that mind becomes open to the possibilities of what is actually out there for someone to still earn an income, but then obviously also develop passive sources of income that take literally little or no effort.
Yeah. So give us some examples. So the one example you just gave is, let's say it's a coach leaning in and they have a bunch of one-on-one clients. They could start to shift that to, why don't you start group coaching? Why don't you start, doing the one-to-many? That's a beautiful, tangible shift that someone could make. What's another tangible shift that someone could start to do to create that might, and it equates to actually potentially less time as they're starting to lean in?
Yes. So it goes back to the famous rule of 72. How fast can we double our money? So what most people don't understand is, with traditional financial planning, yes, there are, on average 5 and 10% returns. This is what we're taught. This is safe. This is low risk, so on and so forth. However, there are other assets that are absolutely income producing that can produce double digits. I will give you an example. My mother had an old 401k just laying around with about $55,000 in it, earning, on average 3 to 5% because of her age. It was safe. So I introduced her to the cheap home market where you can literally take that same amount of money, and she is making 17.5% off of it.
Wow.
Not to mention about $30,000 equity in the home itself. So just that small little shift, she is cash flowing a little over $1,100 a month off of a 55 with work that was put into it, an extra 10,000, but let's just call it a $65,000 investment that is in the ground. You can touch it, feel it, walk through it. You know where it is. And this has made the difference for her. You know, she's obviously part of the baby boomer revolution, right? So this is what they were taught. But when you introduce a new concept to somebody that she had never heard of anything of this nature.
Yeah.
So, but she had a little bit to start with. She didn't have a lot, but that initial investment now has literally made the difference in her retirement because she is on fixed income.
Yeah. Ooh, this is powerful. This is so much fun. This is why your background is so fun, because it's this idea of like, you know how to build a business. You've got all this financial planning background now, you know, you've gotten certified in all those spaces. And now you're this powerhouse house coach that's like pulling all of this together, like how to create a business and make your money work for you versus you work for the money. So I think this is so empowering, especially for, I know we've talked about this, for women really stepping into these male dominated spaces and for them to start to become educated on how they can make more money with the money that they have and not have to trade all of their time for it. So this is so powerful. I'm so grateful you're starting to breathe in like tangible examples. And so as that co-founder of Cheap Homes University, is that something that you guys teach in there? Like if someone was like, I want to learn how to do that. Could someone lean in and start to learn how to do that in that space?
Absolutely. That is usually the second level. So break free, make it happen is the entry level, because as you well know, if we don't change the root of the problem and you just continue to change the fruit, no matter how much money that person is going to make through any other additional investment or a new investment, they will end up back where they started. You have to understand how money works. You have to understand all of the foundational pieces first. You can't build a house and just expect to put the curtains on. You have to lay the floor first. So break free, make it happen is the foundational piece. And Cheap Homes University is the accelerated piece. And I will share this with your audience. This is a very fun fact. Most people do not know that 2020, when COVID hit, it created the first female recession in history. Over 11 million jobs that were held by women were lost between the months of February and May. Now, most people see that as detrimental, but what it did was it actually created a female boom in business because a lot of women, including myself, were forced to pivot. They had to pivot. They could not panic. They had to pivot because they had no choice. So now that women have more money in hand, and now they are being educated with actually how to make that money grow for themselves versus them putting in the work and working hard for the money. Let's get the money working for you. That's the ultimate goal. That's freedom.
Yes. Wow. I did not even realize that that was a female recession that was happening. That's so powerful. I mean, I saw, what I was channeling about COVID was it was this divine reset. So how empowering I've been getting body chills this entire time you've been speaking about the idea of like, it's this divine reset, but like a massive reawakening for the feminine too, of just deepening into how to, make more money and how to actually liberate ourselves. Because the truth of the matter is when we have more money, we can say yes to our soul more and more often. And so I think that's what's so beautiful about you empowering women to start to move and circulate that money through them so that they can say yes to their soul more and more.
Absolutely. And Christina, even prior to the female recession, the wage gap between men and women was still 84 cents to every dollar that a man would make. Now, this is the empowering part that I want to encourage your audience to lean into. When it comes to sales, because let's face it, everybody's in sales. Somehow, some way you are in sales. Women actually are able to close deals or close sales at an 11% higher clip than men. And there are 3 specific reasons why.
Yeah, tell me. I love this.
We are actually better listeners than most men, not all. I would never categorize and generalize an entire group of anyone or anything. However, just Forbes put it out there that women are better listeners. We understand collaboration better. Actually, women prefer to work in teams, whereas men often, they prefer to work on their own. And then the last piece of this, which I know you resonate with, women typically have a higher EQ. So we are able to read the room a little bit better.
Yeah.
We have that self-awareness. And it goes back to what I believe, and maybe your listeners will agree with me, maybe they won't, but this is my own theory. This is my own philosophy. Back in the 1950s, like when my parents were growing up, the traditional role of the woman absolutely was in the household to raise the children, make sure there's food on the table, make sure that the house is in order. But then when women got into the workplace, everything shifted. Women were oftentimes forced to get into the workplace because a man was not providing, or maybe they had a bad example of a man in their life that simply was not there, that did not provide. So women had no choice, once again, to pivot. So we were forced to increase our skill sets. We were forced to have to make decisions that typically men would have to make. And now we have this new creation of powerful business women functioning in still typically a man's world, especially when I was in fitness and in finance. Both of those industries are still very male dominant, yet we carry around these wonderful things called hormones. So it's a different energy. It just is, but it's an opportunity. So everything that I empower my women to do and to learn and to apply is, listen, you have to break free from stereotypes if you haven't done so already. But those same stereotypes have been deeply rooted in your subconscious. It's a fact because of who we were raised by. So if you're 40 plus, you're in that same bracket of the generation that raised you with that type of programming. But it's not like that anymore. We've had opportunities. We've seen breakthroughs. We have women that are billionaires. Actually, you and I just recently met one. Jamie Kern-Lima. Amazing story. This is empowering for women. The narrative has absolutely shifted.
Oh, there's so much here. And I just love it so much. It's exciting. These divine interventions that feel terrible in the moment are really waking us up to our divine power on all sides, waking men up to their divine power in a different way, waking women up to their divine power in a different way, creating this beautiful, almost like an infinity sign of balance and creation. And I love seeing where it's taking each of us. We're all waking up in different ways. And I think it's so empowering. And so what I would love to dig into is you talked about, instead of going to the fruit, let's go to the root. So what are some ways that someone could start to actually go to the root of, let's say, their money mindset or their stereotypes that they have within the cells of their body, and start to actually shift those so that they can attract in more of what it is that they desire?
Absolutely. I'll give you a very recent example. One of my mentees, young woman, 33 years old, she's in the financial services, and she had set a particular goal for herself. And I asked her, I said, what are your goals in the next 12 months? Your financial goal. What is that financial goal that you are looking to achieve in the next 12 months? And without hesitation, she said, $165,000. So I said, okay, where did you come up with that number? And it was absolute crickets. No answer. And she paused and she said, I never thought about why, other than it's just more money than I've ever made. So I said, okay, but why wouldn't it be 1.6 million? Why 165? Why $165,000? And why not 1.6 million? Within 2 weeks, just by planting that little seed in her head, with a few more sales strategies that I had given her of how to actually close the deals and what to say and how to be an effective salesperson on the phone, because there is an absolute difference between a low-level salesperson and a high-level salesperson. Just with those simple little shifts, She just closed a $385,000 case.
Of course. I love it. Powerful. So what is the difference between that high, what you just mentioned, like the salespeople that get it? Like, what would you say was the thing that helped her close that deal?
Yes. I often talk about the 3 top levels of money in the marketplace and how do you reach those? And one of the primary ways absolutely is communication.
Yeah.
So the better communicators that we are, the greater the chance, the greater outcome. So for example, what most people don't understand, the most important part of any type of a call, regardless of what business you are in, has nothing to do with whatever it is you're selling. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
It has to do with the heart connection.
Yes.
For example, if you and I were on a phone call and we just popped on and I'm trying to sell you the next best, greatest, latest thing, I am not going to talk about that until we are at least 25 minutes into the phone call, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
So I will observe your background. I'll look at your necklace. Oh my gosh, Kristin, I love your necklace. Tell me the story about that. Where did you get that?
Mm-hmm.
And genuinely diving in and researching with your eyes, with your ears. Maybe you are just on a phone call. And let's say the person is from Pennsylvania. And maybe I can ask them, oh my gosh, you must be a Steelers fan. And they'll say, oh my gosh, yes, how did you know? Immediately there's a connection there. Oh, well, where did you go to school? So it's the most important part of a sales call. It's not the only thing, but it makes a huge difference to listen to them, listen to where they are going, read the room as we talk about the EQ, and find those 2 to 3 heart connections that you can actually have with someone, because now they're going to be open to say yes to you because they feel like they know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times in corporate, they actually do not teach sales of where we are now.
Yes.
They will teach sales for what has worked for 164 years. But it's time to give that script a facelift.
Absolutely. Ooh, that's so good. That's so tangible. So for anyone listening in, I know that they're quick noting that and leaning in that way if they weren't already. I feel like that's such a powerful reminder, right? It's like we know this in relationships, and then sometimes money gets involved and we're like, I forget it all. But just remembering it's a relationship we're building, it's a conversation we're having, we're leaning in because we're genuinely interested, and people buy based on energy. If I feel good about what it is that we're talking about, I want to lean in. I want to purchase from you. Versus like if someone's selling me like 99-cent toothpaste and they're like, I don't care, they're shoving it at me, or they don't believe in the product. I'm like, even if it's free, for some reason the energy's off, I don't want to take it. So it's that idea of really connecting to the energetics of the exchange that's happening. Like when you lean in, they want to lean in too. So I think that's so powerful, that reminder of, create a lean in, genuinely be interested in this person. However it nets out is beautiful. I always say God controls my income, not people, right? And so it's this idea of knowing everything is divinely aligned. So I absolutely love that. It's just leaning in and creating a heart-to-heart connection.
And I would say that the second most powerful thing, if not tied for the first, is absolutely the confidence. If you are on the phone with someone and whatever product or service that you sell, if you know for 1,000% fact that that'll help someone or change their life, the person on the call who has the greater belief is going to pull the other one over to the other side. It's a fact. If you don't like what you're selling or what you're providing, or you feel like you're an imposter, it's not going to work. The person on the other side of the Zoom call or the other side of the phone call is going to pick up on that, as you indicated, Christina. It is the energy. So when you have proof behind you in what you do, I know you've changed lives. I know I've changed lives. 99% success rate. Mm-hmm. I know I can help you. Without saying it, that person needs to sense that energy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So as like the queen of confidence over there, what would you say for someone who's like, I wish I was more confident. I wish I could find that, cultivate that within myself. What are some ways that someone can start to really build that confidence within themselves?
Absolutely. Another story. I love to share this story.
I love this.
Absolute truth.
Yeah.
So very, 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 very first half of my life, I was musical theater. I actually had a very large scholarship from Pepperdine University, everything musical theater. And I grew up on the stage since age 2. And I remember back to especially high school when you don't have as many reps in at that point. And people would always ask me, oh my gosh, don't you get nervous? Don't you get nervous to go on stage? Well, the reality of it was, of course I was nervous, but I never let them see me sweat. So even before I knew what subconscious was, what manifestation was, none of the things that we talk about today, I would literally say the words to them, no, I'm not nervous. I'm just really excited.
Yeah.
And I think by just saying that over and over and over and over and over again, you actually believe it.
Yeah.
And then it comes to pass. So every time that curtain would go up, or if we're talking about athletics, I was a professional gymnast and dancer and all of these things, same concept. You know, when that downbeat hits or when that curtain goes up, of course you're nervous, but don't let anybody know that. Not on the level that it's going to distract from your performance. So instead of nerves, no, I get excited. I can use those butterflies that are in my stomach because they give me energy.
Yeah.
And I was 16 years old telling myself this. Don't ask me where I learned it from. I have no idea. Maybe my mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's where it started from. So giving that person permission to tell yourself, yes, you're nervous, but reframe it.
Yes.
Put different language on it. And we go back to communication, how important communication is. How you communicate with yourself is equally important as how you communicate with others. How are you going to communicate to others if you don't even know how to communicate to yourself?
So true. Like, what story are you telling yourself? I love the reframe because there can be two truths at once. Yeah. Really nervous, really excited. Which one is based in fear? Which one is based in love? Which one's going to give you the energy to really show up and perform and be in that space of like, it's not about me. How can I show up for someone else? I suddenly make it not about myself, because when I'm in my nerves, I'm making it all about me. When I'm in my excitement, I'm giving into you. And so I love how when you make that shift, it becomes more of a give than it does there's so much happening within me. I always say before I lean into anything I'm doing, it's not about me. How can I serve? And so that's so powerful. It's just, let me tell myself a different story and let me speak a different story out loud too. You know, I think that's so empowering. So I absolutely love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think if you think back to things that you learned as a child, I'm sure most of your audience has heard, sometimes as adults, we literally have to unlearn things that we've learned in the world. So if you can just revert back to that childlike energy, that childlike spirit, that childlike, I'm just going to go have fun. I'm just going to go have fun and play with my friends. It really does apply in the business world. Just as you said, Christina, we serve others. And how do we do that? We play with them. We collaborate with them. We have fun with them. We share with them because everybody has a different strength. Maybe somebody's good at throwing a ball and the other person is good at catching the ball. It takes two to play a game of catch, So I love that. I love that.
So powerful. I would love to even just switch gears a little bit too. When I think about what we've even been talking about a little bit before. So you had this successful fitness business and then COVID happens, right? And all of a sudden it's like you lose your business overnight. I would love to know, because this happens in the business world. We become entrepreneurs and everything's going good. And all of a sudden we're forced into a pivot like we were talking about. How did you navigate that pivot? Like, I know you would talk about, you were like, I just dropped to my knees and I was like, okay, I surrender. God, use me. So I know God was a big part of that. What else did you do? Or maybe you can even speak into that relationship even more that supported you through that massive life pivot. Because now it all makes sense looking back. But in the moment, it had to have not felt like any sense at all. So I'm curious, what did you do to start to rebuild and to really navigate that big, almost forced pivot?
Yes. I'm sure most can relate. When COVID hit, we thought, okay, this will last for a couple weeks.
Right.
Maybe a couple months.
Yeah.
And then, holy smokes, here we are in a couple years.
Right.
And in that moment, I had literally just gotten back up on my feet. I had recently moved to Florida in 2016 from New York City after a disastrous first marriage, which we won't go into necessarily now, but let's just say it was not a great chapter at the time of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I had pivoted then and moved to Florida, started over. It was wonderful. Everything was running on all cylinders, lots of private clientele. Everything is just like, yes, we're back to normal. And then it hit. And for the first month, it was wonderful because my body was able to rest. And then in month number 2, it was great because my mind was able to rest. I'm sure most people can relate. And then by month number 3, that's when I realized, oh, this is not ending anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind at the time, I had to make up a 6-figure income quick, fast, in a hurry.
Yeah.
Thankfully, from knowledge that I had gained from a client that was in the financial services, I had 1 year's worth of income saved. I learned that from 2008, from that crash. And I realized I have to make this happen now. But Christina, when I tell you, I think so many people can relate. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I did not have the strength within me to do that. I did not. That was number 3. So I dropped to my knees in my kitchen and I raised my arms to the ceiling. And I literally just said, hey, Lord, I need help. I cannot do this on my own. I am tired. I am scared. I am lost. Use me. Just use me. What do I do? And literally within a week, the word financial services came into my mind. It had been introduced to me about 5 years prior. So I thought to myself, well, this could be a natural transition. Fitness to finance, this works great. A lot of the language is the same. You have to start early and you have to be consistent and you have to continue to do the thing to achieve the goal. So a lot of it was the similar language. I had to get to a place where everybody had to get at that point where you trust and you go for it. You have to believe down deep in your soul that this is happening for a reason that will be good versus detrimental. So it was focusing on the windshield in front of me, which is much larger than the rear view mirror in your car. It's the rear view mirror for a reason.
Yes.
If I was looking what was coming down behind me, an avalanche falling from COVID, and the world is in chaos, and now I have to learn these new skill sets, and I have to pivot, and I have to make 6 figures quick, fast, in a hurry. If I was focusing on that, it would never have been successful. Versus just continue to look at the road ahead of you. What is ahead of you? There's a reason that big, gigantic windshield is huge and the little rearview mirror is small. So it was a mental shift, it was a spiritual shift, and it was absolutely a physical shift to say, okay, we have to break free from what is absolutely terrifying at this point and just make it happen. What are we going to do to make it happen? Take those action steps. I learned and got a mentor who, thank God, took me under his wing, as I now do for others, is, hey, somebody who'd already been there, done that, who's on the other side that can be my guide. How do I do this? I don't know how to do this. How do I do this? And just trusting in that process, trusting in my mentor, trusting in what God had for me, and trusting in myself. Those 3 have to be there. They have to be there. We were not put on this planet to do things alone. And we were not put on this planet to go through difficult times alone. However, if someone does not reach out and ask for help, we can't read your mind.
Right.
We can't read your mind. So going back to the communication piece, this is why communication is so effective. If you don't communicate, I unfortunately know of a friend from high school that committed suicide because they didn't communicate. So you got to communicate. And my mentor said to me, there's a big difference in asking for a handout versus a hand up. When you ask for a hand up, people that have been there before you absolutely will give you that hand up. They want to help you, because I guarantee you, the mentors, all of us that are out there as mentors, we want to help because we've been there before. My mentor had been 7 figures in debt at a time in his life. 7 figures in debt. But he gave me a hand up to say, come on, you're coming with me. I'm going to help you. Let's do this. And I'm emotional because it's still a powerful topic. It's still a hot plate, because I'm so grateful for that mentor. I'm so grateful that I asked for help. I'm so grateful that I had the right guide to teach me and show me the way, because we're not meant to do it on our own.
Oh, there's just so much beauty in that. It's so true. Those moments that bring us to our knees are the ones that have reminded me too, that I'm like, man, I need someone to help pick me up right now, but I got to communicate that. And there was just so much wisdom in everything that you just shared, because it's so true. Everyone has so much going on that the second we use our voice, we say like, look, I need a little bit of support here. People are ready. They want to help you, but you're so right. They don't know that you need that until you say something. And so just for anyone who's listening, if you need support, if you're in a space where you're like, I just feel like I don't know what is up and what is down and how to move forward, and I'm just looking in the rearview mirror and I don't know how to look through the windshield, how do I do that? Start thinking about someone in your life that you admire, or someone that you feel like you're like, man, whatever they're doing feels really good to witness. Reach out to that person. Ask them to coffee. Ask them to just chat online if you've seen them online, to just say, hey, I'm curious, how did you build what you built? Like, how do I lean into these spaces? Because it's so true. So much of how I've gotten to where I am too is because I've raised my hand and I've said, I need a little bit of guidance here. In every area, especially the ones where I dropped to my knees, miscarriages, all of these things where you were there supporting me in that space too, where I was like, look, like, here's where I'm at right now. And just being honest and open and vulnerable has been so supportive through all of these journeys that we have. And to be able to just open ourselves up to be seen and exactly where we're at in safe spaces. So I think that's a really powerful keynote as well, is like, find a space that feels safe to really let yourself, especially the rawness, be witnessed and supported. That can be such a game changer for absolutely anyone. So thank you so much for sharing that, all of the wisdom within that. It's such a beautiful roadmap to start to connect to. It can just be one foot in front of the other, of just raising your hand and saying, I need a little bit of support here. Who can help?
And I think what most people fail to understand sometimes is, if you see somebody out there that is successful, whatever that means to you, freedom of time, freedom of choices, freedom of money, freedom of where to live, wherever you want. If you see someone that is successful, or you know someone that is successful, I promise you, you did not see the times that they were balled up in a corner, crying their eyes out, or unable to move from a panic attack, or unable to use their voice because they were told to be quiet, or unable to use their voice because they were afraid to use their voice. But they were able to break free away from that, to make it happen, to say, no, I have to be stronger than this force, this person, this thing, this job. I have to be stronger than that so I can make what I really want to have happen in my life happen. and break away from that chain. For me, it was an abusive ex-husband, not a fun time. And when I sat down with women in the financial, arena, when I was helping and coaching and advising, it was shocking, Christina. 61 women out of 61 women that I sat with had the same experience.
Wow.
So, of course, it was my mission and my passion to help them break out of that.
Yeah.
To show them that it is possible to have a new life. It is possible to be successful on your own until you meet someone that is for you, that will support you. Yeah. And you can have a power couple, or as my fiance and I, DJ, say, a purpose couple. It's very possible to do that. However, you're not going to find what is new for you until you shed what is old. You cannot come into the new until you shed the old. You have to become a better person, a better everything, if you expect better. Yeah. My other mentor used to say, God ain't gonna bless no mess. So if there's things in your life that deep down, you got to change, you have to fix, you have to be better, you need to be more aware, just know that on the other side of that, there are massively wonderful gifts waiting for you, but you have to believe that they're there, because they are. But if they come too soon, you'll make a mess of it. It's all divine timing. Absolutely, it is divine timing.
Yeah. I completely agree. It is divine timing, and it is when we can drop into just that freest version of ourselves, knowing that we can even look into what's happening in the shadow and how can we start to bring that into the light. It's almost like through that process, I feel like it does feel like the idea of like God won't bless the mess. I almost feel like through God's blessing, the mess becomes the light too, though. You know what I mean? Where it's like through that experience, can I find God in everything? The experience that I'm experiencing now is actually a catalyst to me living my most soul-aligned life. So I think that's so powerful to start to say, like, where is the light in this? And maybe the light is on the other side of it, or going through it to get to what you're really meant to experience. So like they say, karma becomes your dharma. That idea of like, my life experience is now one of the hardest things I've ever been through. And now I can teach on that and support people and give people the shortcut and how to move through that. So I'm just so grateful that you found light in so many places, that you're bringing light into so many places that women can play and find freedom. And I would love to know even more. So this idea of break free, make it happen, who is that for? And what are some of the transformations that someone can experience by stepping into that space?
Absolutely. I'll riff on what you just said briefly, because I think it calls for it. If you notice the painting behind me, it's a dark circle.
Yeah. And
out of the dark circle, those are actually child hands. They're hands of a child that are colorful. And if you notice the butterfly absolutely represents metamorphosis and transformation. But we have to go back to our childlike souls to get out of the darkness, to get into the color, and to get into the light and into the transformation. And this is a very special friend of ours and artist, holy smokes, that this painting was painted for us before this artist knew us. And I gave this to DJ for his birthday last year, and the story behind it was about the story. So for women who need to break free from the chains that are holding you, I often use the story and the metaphor of the elephant, the tethered elephant. Oftentimes you'll see a baby elephant who's tethered by a rope that's just strong enough to hold the baby elephant. Yet as that baby elephant grows, it doesn't know that it's stronger than it was 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago. And we all know the strength of a grown elephant easily could break the chain or a rope, as we say. away and run freely into the forest. But it's that chain from childhood that someone labeled you with something. Someone told you something of what you are or you are not, that continues to play in someone's head without them even knowing it. So break free, make it happen allows you the permission to break away from that and go make anything that you want in your life possible. But you have to start there. You have to eliminate what I call the brain trash. Those tapes that are running in your head constantly. I've heard one of my dear friends, he's the happiness doctor, say that the most common 3 things, unfortunately, that women especially hear when they grow up is you are fat, you are ugly, or you're dumb, you're not smart. And when he said this to me, I thought, how terrible that can be for a child to grow up with that, or a teenager, or even a young adult. And that's what they begin to believe. But that's the furthest from the truth. It's the furthest from the truth. I don't care how beautiful or ugly or fat or smart or whatever you are. You always have the ability to become better or become worse. And if you're not choosing to become better, you are getting worse. You have you have to give yourself a facelift, per se, in the, not the general term. If you want to, hey, go ahead. I'm not mad at you. But give your life a facelift.
Right. The term. Yes.
Give your life a facelift. You have to upgrade. If you still have the iPhone 4, well, you're probably missing out on a few things. You have to do the same thing for your life. You have to always be willing to break free from whatever got you here today is not going to be the same thing that's going to get you there tomorrow or a year from now or 10 years from now. You have to shed the old before you put on the new. And always be a student of life. Be a student of people who have been there before and are on the other side, because they're the ones that can bridge the gap from getting you from where you are right now to where you want to go.
Yeah. So powerful. So powerful. So what I'm hearing you say is, of the women that step into this space, they're going to be untethering themselves. They're going to be noticing, what are these things that I feel like are completely holding me back, when I realize it was just a string and it's something I can so easily just untie. It feels like you're really teaching women how to just untie it, where the knot is, how to remember that it can be released, that it's loose enough to even pull off. And so it's this remembrance of, we're born whole. When we come out of the womb, we're not like, will someone feed me? Will someone change my poop? Like, we know that it's happening and we haven't done anything to quote unquote deserve it. And so I think it's so powerful to get us back to what our soul knows to be true, that we are born worthy. Everything else is just a story. And where are these stories rooted? Can we release those and allow ourselves to step into the freest version of ourselves? So thank you for doing this work. For every woman who steps into this place, I'm positive a massive transformation and a freedom is exactly what she's receiving. So for a woman who's like, I need more of you in my life, where can they find you? Where can they lean in to start to learn more and to really allow themselves to access the freest version of themselves?
Absolutely. I made it as simple as possible, which is www.breakfreemakeithappen.com.
Yes, I love it.
Simple. You can find any and everything there. I'm happy to do, a call. I love to talk to people and see where you're at, and however I can help you. It's what it's all about. Consider me the hand up, just paying it forward, just like somebody did for me. And now I am in a position to help and give and add value, because this next chapter right now, and I don't exclude men, we do have a few men,
right?
For sure. But this next chapter, get on the train. Get on the train that's going to the next place. Because if you're staying right where you are right now, I don't want to put shock and awe and fear. However, the times that we're in right now are moving very, 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 very quickly. And the only way that you're going to stay ahead of that train is to learn some new skill sets: communication, sales, confidence, belief. All of these tools will help you not only survive this next chapter of what's happening, but it's going to allow you to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing stopping somebody from doing that. Once someone learns a new skill set, this is what I love about continued learning and mentorship, is once you learn a new skill, nobody can ever take it away from you, ever. It's there. Nobody can take it from you. So if you intend to increase your income, you have to increase your skill set. It's a fact. It's value in the marketplace. The more valuable you become in the marketplace, the less likely you will be eliminated. So don't be eliminated. Know that there's something better for you out there. There's something more, and especially for women, men too, but especially for women. Because of the recession, it also created the greatest opportunity, because now we are in the workplace and we are a force. And most people actually do enjoy doing business with women. It's a fact.
Oh, Kristin, thank you so much. This was magic. You've dropped so much wisdom and beauty into the space. She has so beautifully gifted. If you're tuning in and you're like, I want to learn more, go to that website, book a complimentary 30-minute call with her, and just figure out how you can start to break free in a way that's going to be so supportive. So, Kristin, thank you so much for being here, for sharing all your beautiful wisdom. I'm just so grateful for everything that you've sprinkled into this space.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate you providing a safe space for me to be vulnerable, even though I told myself I wasn't going to do that today. But when the energy flows, you have to just let it go. And I hope that that story and that vulnerability touched somebody, and just know that I've been there. Yeah. I've been there, done that, as have so many others. And there's help out there for you. Somebody wants to just give you a positive word and help you along.
It's so true. It's so true. Well, for everyone that's tuning in, you tuned in for a beautifully divine reason, and we would love to know what resonated with you. So feel free to take a screenshot, tag us on Instagram. She is at Kristin Ericksen. I am Christina Deering. So feel free to share that, your biggest takeaways. We create more based on what it is that you desire, and we love to hear from you. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we're sending you so much light and love. Until next time.